raise the roof in Washington. Actually, they just raised the debt ceiling. They did it, though, this time without all the drama from some of those previous debates on this issue. This morning, we'll talk to a candidate who has worked in Washington and now wants to serve you in elected office in Washington. Good morning and welcome to The Insiders. Who does not want to run for Congress this year? Well, we know Republican Tom Latham does not. He already announced that he would retire. Well, David Young is one of about a half dozen Republicans who wants to replace him in the 3rd Congressional District. He is Senator Chuck Grassley's former chief of staff. He's from Van Meter, and he joins us here now. Hello.
Great to be here again, Dave.
Good to see you again.
Always a pleasure.
It's been a little while here. Hey, you've been talking about these county auditors that have backed your campaign. I'm assuming for your ability and wizardry with numbers. So let's talk about this debt ceiling.
Sure.
Would you have supported raising the ceiling?
Not on this last vote. No, I would not have. So
Why not?
I would have been no. Because I think when it comes to these kind of votes, we need to have some leverage on them. And I would have tried to have garnered some support to put maybe Keystone Pipeline on it, maybe some tax reform, some entitlement reform, some long-term fiscal discipline. Obviously, we need to pay our bills and fulfill our legal obligations to pay those. But it would have been a protest vote in my mind, and I would have said no.
We've heard Congressman Steve King and some others talk about whether there really is a pending crisis on this, whether we even really needed to raise it up here. Some of them argue that what we really need to do is just cut our bills a bunch and then not borrow anymore. Do you believe that is the debt ceiling for real in your mind, or is this a manufactured crisis?
Well, you never know if it's for real unless you don't pass the debt ceiling, right? So
true.
We don't know, and we've always passed the debt ceiling, and we probably always will. But we have a fiscal problem. You mentioned raising the roof. When the basement is flooding, you don't raise the roof. You stop the spending. And we have to get spending under control. $17.2 trillion. It's doubled in about the last 5 years. You can point fingers everywhere, but I think you can point fingers at both sides. I'll be a taxpayer watchdog, and I'll call out when I see some spending that is just out of control, and it's busting the budget and deficit.
Virtually every year, we spend more than we take in Washington. Your old boss, Chuck Grassley, has been serving in Washington a long time. Does he have some of the blame here? Does Tom Arkin have some of the blame? Who's to blame for this?
I think you can blame both sides, because I've seen presidents on both sides of the aisle and members of Congress. President George W. Bush, I'm a big supporter of his. Glad he was president. I wish he would have vetoed some of the spending bills that some of the Republican Congress sent to them.
Can you give us something tangible? Where's a way we can save some money, cut some spending?
Well, there's waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement everywhere. So there's no department that should be untouched, from education, defense, interior, commerce, wherever. But you know that you really need to get at this by hitting entitlements. And that's the third rail and the sacred cow that nobody wants to talk about, but you have to.
Give us a change on there. What would you do?
Well, first of all, you just have to put everything on the table. And that's where you start. You put retirement age, taxes, benefits, means testing, and that's where you start. There are some plans out there right now that leaves everything untouched by those who are 55 and up. And then by the next generations, you fiddle around with the formulas a little bit. You could get an actuary from Principal and Wells Fargo and put them in a room, and they could figure this out pretty easy.
Now, you said taxes on the table, so you don't rule out?
I say put them on the table.
Okay, but when some people hear that, they're going to want to know, is there a scenario where you would raise taxes? Because some people say, no way, no how would I ever do that.
Well, I'm one who likes to cut taxes and not raise them, and I think that we're overtaxed enough. But there will be grand bargains where that may come up, but you'd have to take a look at what that is. But it's spending we need to cut, and we need to reform entitlements. So they're there for the next generation and for this generation. They're going to be broke in about 20 years.
You wanted to see your party fight more in this debt ceiling fight. Should John Boehner stay on as Speaker? Is he an effective leader?
Well, he garnered a whole heck of a lot of votes. He got away from a fight this time on the debt ceiling. And should I be honored to be in Congress? I'm not an automatic yes vote for John Boehner. It depends on who wants to be the leader. But I will have to meet with anybody who wants that job first and ask them some tough questions.
Step back and kind of look at your candidacy a little bit here.
Sure.
You were a Senate candidate first, then you came into this 3rd district race. So how should people not look at that like this is sort of your second choice?
Well, it actually was my first choice. When Senator Harkin announced his retirement, I was kind of hoping Tom Latham would run for the Senate seat because my heart has always been in the 3rd District, Central and Southwest Iowa, and I was hoping to run for that. That's where my desire was. But he didn't. But I felt a desire to serve and do what I could do. And then he got out, and that door opened, and I took advantage of it. And I'm very happy with my decision. I could take all the money I raised in the Senate race and move it over to the House. And my organization's all there, rolling out endorsements, great campaign staff. The issues are the same as well.
You hear some of the candidates in these different races talk about, I'm not a Washington insider. All right, so you've been out there working for a while. So are you a Washington insider even though you weren't an elected official out there?
I'm not the guy who sits in the mahogany paneled rooms and on leather couches and drinks scotch and smokes cigars, so no. I was honored and proud to serve Iowa alongside Senator Grassley in an office full of Iowans, on the phone with Iowans every day, in meetings with Iowans, working for Iowa, and found ways to penetrate the government and be effective for Iowa. And I know that I can be effective for Iowa on day one, should I be honored to serve.
All right, a lot more we want to get into with you. Michael Sam's become a household name this past week after he said he's gay and he could become the first openly gay NFL player. Coming up next, what that means for the gay rights debate in this country. Plus, we have to talk about Obamacare here, whether it is really helping anyone right now. We'll do that with 3rd District candidate David Young when we come back.